we got a call from the Caribbean. I don't know if we've had a call from the Caribbean before, but this is Maya calling in. Maya, what's going on?
Hi, I'm good. I've been actually a listener of Abdullah for a while. So I had a question. I work in an NGO for people who are deaf. Here, to give you some context, where I live, there's a majority Christian place. There's also Hinduism, and there's Muslim people at a percentage of, I'd say, like 20%, 15%, right?
Okay.
And I've had this experience many times with the deaf community. There's a lot of ableism here. A lot. We don't know how many deaf people there are in Trinidad, and we're trying to find that out. But what we come across a lot of time is we'll go to a house and we'll ask if there are deaf people who live there. And people will hide the fact that they have deaf kids. And those people who do that tend to be people from Hindu and Muslim families. I have a lot of experience with families where the family is hearing and the family is Hindu or Muslim family, and they do not communicate with their kid who is deaf. That kid inevitably meets up with some kind of predatory, high-key predatory Christian people or a church, especially Jehovah's Witness.
I don't like where this story is going, Maya. I don't like where this story is going at all.
I know, it's dark. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to take this turn. And their first exposure to people who will communicate with them is Christian people, Christian groups. So we'll have a Muslim family with a PMO deaf young adult or adult who is Christian or Jehovah's Witness or something. And I never see talks like this really talk about PWDs. I know they use disability to discredit people who become atheists. They'll say you're mentally diseased or something like that. But I wanted to know if you could speak to the way that you've observed maybe when you were PMO, or how the community treats people who are disabled, if they do that same thing that I see Christian religions do, which is predate on them, use that to isolate them. And or do you see something else where where I see people just hiding them away? A lot of Hindu families hide their adult kids who are deaf away.
I don't. So asking how to. Sorry, I didn't realize you weren't done. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I've talked a lot. Please, I want to hear.
Go ahead, Abdul. We got a little bit of a delay, but that's all right.
Okay. No, I was just saying, if you're asking whether Muslim families hide away the disabled kids, I think that probably would be a very human thing to do, and it's obviously not a good thing to do. But I don't think that Muslims would be any different than any other group in how they treat the disabled kids. Not that I haven't observed any differences, so I don't really have much to comment on that. I'm sorry about that.
From what I can say about Christianity is that different sects obviously are going to interpret different disabilities in different ways. I mean, historically, I think most people probably know some of the details, right? If you had somebody who was born with some kind of disability, there's been everything as an explanation for that, to a curse to being a gift, and the abuses from that may follow. I know that obviously people use these stories also of people being miraculously healed from some of these, they were born deaf, but suddenly they could hear, and now their lives are ultimately better and stuff. And there's also this weird, by having these stories, there's this implicit narrative also that being a hearing person is more valuable than being a deaf person and stuff. And there's this implicit hierarchy that's built in sometimes, which is really bad. I know a story of someone that I used to work with who was a quadriplegic, and she told me once about how she was going, I think it was in Ohio, somewhere in the Midwest, where a group of Christians went up to her and asked if they could pray for her, and specifically about the condition that she was born with, as if they were going to magically heal her. just by laying their hands on her and praying on her. I mean, I don't know about you, but that's disgusting to me. How awful and how dehumanizing a practice that is, to just go up to somebody and violate their personal space, but also think that your magic ritual is going to do anything to change their situation. Is just, it makes me really mad. So I can relate in that I've heard some awful stories and then I know it happens. But I'm glad that as someone who doesn't have any outward physical disabilities, I've never had to experience that myself, and I can't comment on it personally. So yeah.
I don't mean to imply that Muslim families inherently like treat their disabled kids worse. I've noted the culture locally. I don't think it's any better to treat disabled persons like a rubes and like a fun little parable demonstration that you can just.
I don't think so either.
I've seen deaf people show me their like little workbooks from when they were in school or when they were like in church, and it has like these little prayers in it about like, oh, open a little Jarahim's like I'm sorry, open his ears to the Lord. And I was like, that's yikes. And I don't tell them that in person, but I've been in an area near my workplace and had a couple of Jehovah's Witness guys come up to me and ask me, hey, they're from America. He said, hey, do you know if there are any deaf people around here, any hearing impaired? We really wanted to like talk to some people. We knew there were some deaf people in the area. And I was like, why do you, I don't know anyone deaf. I've never talked to anyone deaf. And I just like walked the other way. But it's so strange. Locally, there's a kind of phenomenon of people who are disabled and also people with like albinism, things like that.
Yeah.
Being hidden away by their families. And I see it a lot in Abrahamic religion families, and I don't really know what to put that under.
It's bigotry justified through religion. That's what it is. You know, it's just a systemic classification. It's a systemic hierarchying of people. That suddenly you get to justify, you know, treating somebody differently because, oh, they must have done something to deserve this. You know, like that's what it is at the end of the day, or they're not doing something enough. You know, I mean, this can take various forms, but it's dehumanizing at its core. And I don't care if it's a Muslim doing it or a Christian doing it, or any of the various indigenous beliefs of the people of the Caribbean. It doesn't matter to me. It's bigotry, and it's not something that anybody who calls himself a secular humanist should or a humanist rather should be endorsing. So I'm glad you're at least talking about it. You know, I'm sorry we couldn't give you maybe the answer you wanted for seeking specifically, but I would just say I'm glad you're calling it out. I'm glad you're calling it out.
Oh, it's cool to hear it be talked about at all, because I see it so much because of who I work around, but it's so cool to be able to talk to you guys and to hear
Absolutely.
what it's like.
Absolutely. And thank you for calling in too and doing the work that you're doing as well. I'm sure it's incredibly important to, and it is incredibly meaningful to the communities you're working in. So please keep it up, Maya. And thanks for calling in from the Caribbean. Again, I think that's the first time we've had a call from the Caribbean. So I'm excited about that.